Hello friends, welcome to Mechanical Engineering online classes.
Today let us learn what is called as frictional force, or in simple terms, friction. Friction is a resisting force that resists any relative motion between two objects that are in contact. For example, if an object is kept on some horizontal surface and P is an external force, so we want this object, this body, to move in the rightward direction on this particular floor. But every P is not sufficient all the time for making this body move rightward. By definition, friction is a tangential force that is generated between the contact surfaces of two bodies that are intact, and when they are in relative motion, or when one body is in impending motion compared to the other body. And because friction is a resistance force, this will be acting in the direction opposite to motion. Friction is generated due to surface roughness and the adhesive nature of material. Adhesive means sticky material. So in order to understand why friction is a tangential force between the two contact surfaces, we need to understand the mechanism of friction. That means how friction is developing. Let us see an example. A block which is pink in color is subjected to an external force P rightward, which is actually placed on some horizontal floor, the golden line that we can see, and the friction is a resistance that is caused due to the surface roughness, majorly surface roughness. So surface roughness means the surface is not smooth. There are ebbs and tides on the surfaces. So here we can see one surface is of the block, the other surface is the horizontal floor on which the block is kept. The peaks of the horizontal surface will act as obstructions or obstacles to the body that is sliding on it rightward. So these peaks, as we have already learnt in our lecture video of support reactions, whenever there is a restriction, there will be a reaction from that restriction. So here this peak is hitting this particular peak of the object. So there will be a reaction force from the horizontal surface at this point onto the object. So here also there will be a reaction. Here also there is a reaction. So as the surfaces are not smooth, there is actually no surface contact. At different points there are contacts. So there are many points of contacts, and at all these points of contacts, the peaks of one surface is acting as an obstruction to the peaks of the other object, or then otherwise we can say that there are reactions from all these particular points at the point of contact. So at different points there will be different reactions. So from let us name all these reactions at different points, say from R1, R2 and so on till Rn. The figure that we are seeing is only a two-dimensional, but the surface and the object will be three-dimensional. So in the direction perpendicular to the plane of the screen also, there will be many such sections and there will be many such point of contacts. At all these points there will be reactions. So let us find the resultant of all these reactions. So let all the R1, R2, Rn, these are all the reaction forces. The resultant might be, say, R. R is the resultant. So let us replace all these R1, R2 and so on with its resultant R. So now the external force is P and there is a resultant R. But again the number of, as the pink object slides rightward, the number of points of contacts and the peaks that they are getting in touch with, and the R1, R2, R3 and so on, they all keep changing. So R also keep changing, and the angle at which it is acting also keep changing. So in order to make our analysis simpler, we shall resolve this R force into two rectangular components. One is a vertical and the other is a horizontal. as shown here. So this horizontal force is the friction, and this vertical component of that resultant R is a normal reaction. So this was the R, which is resolved into two forces. The horizontal component of this R is friction, and the vertical component of this R is normal reaction. So friction is that force which is working, or it is in the direction opposite to that of the direction of motion. So direction of motion will be in the direction of P. So friction is opposite to P, and it is tangential to the surface of contacts, because if the surface of contact, as we have seen, because it is a rough surface, we will have point contacts. So tangentially our friction will be acting. So that's the reason in the definition of friction we have read it as friction is a tangential force, and we are calling frictional force as a resisting force. We are not giving that resistance force to normal reaction. We have given resistance name only to friction, because directly we can see here in the figure that friction is opposite to the direction of motion, and they are in parallel. They are also in parallel. They are both parallel, and but even if P is, say for example, it is inclined, even in that case, if the object has to slide on the horizontal surface, friction is definitely opposite and in direction tangential to the surface only, so point of contacts only. So friction is therefore by definition a tangential force that is generated between the contact surface of two bodies that are in relative motion to each other, or even if one body has got a tendency to move relative to another one, that time also a resistance is generated that we call a friction, and that will be always in the direction opposite to motion. So let us see different types of friction. In case there are two objects, solid objects, which are intact and the contact surfaces are rough, because ideal surfaces doesn't exist. Ideally, if a surface is smooth, the friction will be zero, but a surface is not 100% smooth. Most of the cases, almost all surfaces will have some roughness. So in case two solid objects are in contact to each other, and when they are having a tendency to slide upon one upon the other, or even if they are in relative motion, the friction that is generated between them, when no care is taken to reduce friction, like if a lubricant is not applied, then that friction developed between two dry surfaces is called dry friction. This is first and most important type of friction. It's a dry friction. So at times dry friction is also desirable. Friction is not always undesirable. Depending on the application, friction may be desirable or sometimes may be undesirable. If I want the object to slide easily, then that is where I want a least amount of friction. Or suppose we are going on a trekking, that time I want my shoes and the mountain rock to be having highest possible friction so that we don't slip. Or otherwise, for example, if a vehicle is moving on road, unless there is a proper friction, enough friction, this tire of the vehicle may skid on that particular road. For example, if the road is very wetty because due to rains, if there is water, so water between the rubber tire and the road pavement will actually reduce friction, because tires are made for friction. If you can see the roughness of surface of the tire will be rough enough. There will be many slots, peaks and valleys, so as to have enough friction basically. So if the water is filling these portions on the rough surface of the road pavement and the rough surface of the tire, then the surfaces become smooth and there is more possibility of skidding, the vehicle skidding. So that will lead to accidents. So that is where friction is friction is desired. So some places where we want relative motion to happen easily, quickly, say for example the machine. machine will have relative motions between several links and other elements. So in such cases we want the friction to be less. So in those cases we will apply lubricants. So when there are lubricants, suppose is an object, in order to if this has to rotate, say in this particular groove, so we don't want friction to be high, so that time we will fill this with lubricant. So now this solid surface is in touch with a liquid surface, which is a lubricant, or this particular surface is also in touch with the lubricant only. So we are creating a wet surface, we are giving a wet layer between the two solid objects so as to reduce friction. So that the friction that is developed between a liquid surface and solid surface is called as wet friction. So this dry friction and wet friction is based on whether the two surfaces in touch are with lubrication or without lubrication. Then again, in terms of whether it is in motion or not, we have other classification like static friction and kinetic friction. So the friction that is generated between two objects when there is a tendency of motion. So there is only tendency of motion and the objects are not moving relative to each other yet. So that time the friction that is there between the two objects is the static friction. Now after the motion has begun, there is still friction. So that friction is called as kinetic friction. Kinetic friction is also called as dynamic friction. And under dynamic friction again we have two types of friction, sliding friction and rolling friction. Sliding friction means a friction that is experienced by a body when it slides over another body. So sliding is one type of friction. Then there is rolling. Rolling friction means friction experienced by a body when it is rolling over another body. So we have these two types of frictions within dynamic friction. So now don't expect me to talk about something like kinematic friction. Kinetic friction, because in the classification of mechanics we have seen that we have two parts, statics and dynamics. Within dynamics comes kinematics and kinetics. Now here in dynamic friction I am not talking about kinematic and kinetic friction, because kinematics is entirely different. Kinematics is study of geometry of motion without reference to cause of motion. But without reference to cause of motion means friction will not come under that, because the mass and the force that is causing the motion to happen or stop, these things are not considered in kinematics. But cause of motion is considered only in kinetics. So that's the reason dynamic is not having two subdivisions of kinetics and kinematics here. When it comes to dynamic friction, only kinetic friction comes under dynamic friction. There is no kinematic friction. So this is all about the types of frictions. So let us see the perfect definitions of these frictions. Dry friction is that friction that is developed between unlubricated surfaces of two solids that are in contact under a condition of sliding, or when they are having tendency to slide with respect to each other. So dry friction is also called as Coulomb friction. Now, so dry friction is between solid to solid. Now wet friction is a friction between a liquid surface and a solid surface. And now fluid friction. Fluid friction is developed between adjacent layers in a fluid. So when this happens when the adjacent layers in a fluid are moving at a different velocities with respect to each other. So the fluid frictional force will depend on the relative velocity between the adjacent layers and also the viscosity of fluid. So fluid friction is friction between two wet surfaces. So these concepts of viscosity, relative velocity between the fluid layers is studied in fluid mechanics. So if this is all fluid, they are all different layers. So if this layer is moving at some V1 velocity, if this is moving at say V2 velocity, both are not equal. So there is a friction that is developed between both of them. So it is friction between two different liquid layers. So this is fluid friction. So dry friction, wet friction, fluid friction are the frictions based on the types of surfaces that are in contact, whether solid to solid or solid to liquid or liquid to liquid. Now before actually trying to define what static friction is, let us try to understand the speciality of frictional force. How is it different? Frictional force, or simply friction, for example, I am taking a block, this is kept on some other support, say this is a support, in short I'll call it S, this is the object, I call it O. Now if at all we are trying to slide this object O on with respect to S, so now suppose this is say 1000 Newton weight. Now what I am trying to do, I am giving say a 10 Newton force, let this be P. The object is not moving. Then I have increased it to say 50 Newton. The object is still not moving. So after giving say 500 Newton, the object now also is not moving, for example. Now when I have given say some 1500 Newton, from 10 to 500 I have realized that these forces are no way sufficient for the object to move. There is no even tendency of motion. So this time what we did is we have increased this external force to 1500 Newton, and we have observed, let us assume that the object started sliding. So at 1500 Newton force the object is sliding upon S. But we know from the principles of equilibrium, if at all there is a force, say in the initial stage we have taken some 10 Newton force, P was 10 Newton, this is the object which should slide over S. Now the object is not sliding means what? The object is in equilibrium condition only. So here except a normal reaction and a weight force, this is suppose this is the weight force which is 100 Newton, there is a normal reaction. So sigma Fy is 0. So we know that the normal reaction is 1000 Newton. This is fine. Now what about sigma Fx to be 0? We are seeing 10 Newton force acting rightward, but are we seeing any other force which is balancing this 10 Newton force? We are not able to see it. But unless there is some force which is acting opposite to this 10 Newton force, means opposite means now the force should be leftward, because P which is given is rightward 10 Newton, there must be a 10 Newton force here acting parallel, equal and opposite to the P. Unless and otherwise the object is in equilibrium, right? The object is not moving, it is not sliding. So sigma Fx must have been equal to 0. So what this 10 Newton force is? It is the friction. It is this friction which is nullifying the effect of our P which is given as 10 Newton. Now we have later given a 50 Newton force. Now also the object is not sliding and there is no other horizontal force that is actually that we can see for the system to be in equilibrium. So here a frictional force of 50 Newton is developed. So what are we going to conclude from this? So depending on what external force is there, in order to create or in order to produce a relative motion between two objects, our frictional force is changing based on the given P. P was once 10 Newton, later it was 50 Newton, it became 100 Newton, it became 150 Newton, at 500 Newton. So P changed from almost 1 Newton to 500 Newton. And the object did not move, means the friction is changing its value according to the P that is applied. The maximum value of frictional force might be 500 Newton only, but when we have given a 10 Newton force, this friction did not take that maximum value of 500 Newton, otherwise the object would have started sliding leftward, which is practically impossible. It never happens that way, right? Either the object is at still, or because we have applied an external force P, it should be moving rightward. But just because the frictional value can have a maximum 500 Newton, it won't start moving itself, because frictional force will oppose motion. So it won't give a force more than what is required. So it will give 10 Newton, for this 10 Newton it will take this 10 Newton only. where it can actually have 500 Newton, it can go up to 500 Newton, it will give only that value equal to 10 so as to oppose the relative motion. If it is taking 500, then the object itself will start moving leftward, and we will assume that some ghost is moving the object. Practically it's not possible, right? So what we can conclude from this is frictional force is a self-adjusting force. So it has got a remarkable property of adjusting itself in magnitude equal to the applied force P till its maximum level is reached, because the frictional force cannot go till infinity. We have already seen the friction, the reason for friction is the roughness of surface or the adhesive property of the surface. So it cannot be infinity also. If it is infinity, then we cannot move our limbs, nor any other relative motion can happen in the universe. Friction cannot go to infinity. If it goes to infinity, then everything is at stake, everything is at in a statue position. So it is self-adjusting only to that particular limit of its capacity. So that highest value that it can take is called the limiting equilibrium condition. So limiting equilibrium condition is the maximum value friction can take. So as we have seen, as P increases, F also increases, but in direction equal and opposite to P. But however, there is always a limit beyond which the magnitude of friction cannot be increased. So if P is more than this F, for example, so the highest value of friction is say F max. If we can apply a P which is greater than this F max, then the motion will begin, then the movement will happen. And as motion takes place, the value of the value of this friction will now again come down from maximum value. So the maximum value a surface can give, a friction, the maximum it can give in order to stop any relative motion, means static condition is retained. The maximum value it can give is actually the static condition. So the friction in the maximum friction in static condition is called as static friction. So until F max can be reached, the object is in static condition. So that is static friction. Now once P is greater than F max, the static friction, it is greater than the maximum possible static friction, then a motion takes place. Now our friction will come down from F max to say some F again, but this F is then called as kinetic or dynamic friction because the body is already in motion. So this is happening when P is greater than F max. So if Fk is the kinetic friction, we are denoting kinetic friction as Fk, and the highest friction that is possible under static condition is say Fs. So this F max or the maximum static friction is always greater than the kinetic friction. So why this can happen is, as once the motion begins, now the relative motion is there. So due to increased speed, it is sometimes possible that most of the contact points are skipped, due to which there will be a reduced reaction forces. For Rn, the resultant is N. If at all due to increased speed, some of these point of contacts are just skipped, they are just overtaken. In such cases, the number of these reactions will come down. Now it is some R1 to say Ri only, where I is less than N. That time the resultant also will be lower. There will be a lesser resultant, and friction is nothing but a horizontal component of this reaction. So if this resultant is reduced, the friction also will come down. So that is also reduced. So because of this reason, kinetic friction is always less than static friction. So until P is given a value that is more than F max, and even after F max is overtook by P, the object is in motion. Now the kinetic friction is also less than Fs. So maximum value of F max is at the verge of motion. So that friction is called as limiting frictional force or Fmax. This is the maximum friction developed at the surface when the block is at the verge of motion, means it is just getting ready to move. So beyond that Fs max, if at all P is given, then the object will start moving. Verge of motion means impending motion, just getting ready to move. It is just the next step is to move. So at that particular time, whatever friction is there, that value will be maximum. So that maximum value of friction is called as limiting frictional force, beyond which the static friction is now going to become kinetic friction, which is again less than that static friction. And static friction is self-adjusting. So from 10 Newton to 500 Newton, it is self-adjusting. So if suppose our F max is this 500 Newton, after kinetic friction has begun, means after giving P more than its 500, so suppose P is 550 Newton, that time the object started moving and there is a kinetic friction developed. Now this kinetic friction is also less than F max. So this is the limiting, this particular maximum value of friction, which is 500 Newton, is called as limiting frictional force. So let us see what coefficient of friction is. The object is subjected to an external force P acting rightward. Let the weight of this object is W, and suppose the reaction is something like this. If we split this, then we will have a frictional force acting tangentially opposite in the direction of motion, that can be possible, and this is a normal reaction. So as the resultant is increasing, our values of F and N increase, and vice versa. If R is coming down, this F and N are also coming down. So F is directly proportional to N. The frictional force is directly proportional to the normal reaction, or otherwise this F by N is a constant. It is a proportionality constant. So this proportionality constant is called as coefficient of friction. Mu is F by N. So in case we want to find the coefficient of static friction, which is denoted as mu s, S for static. Coefficient of static friction means it is a ratio of not just friction, it is a ratio of limiting frictional force. Limiting frictional force means the maximum friction that it can be, F max, divided by the normal reaction. So this is constant. This is this ratio of limiting frictional force, which is F max, to normal reaction is mu s, coefficient of static friction. Similarly, if mu k is the coefficient of kinetic friction, then that will be the ratio of kinetic frictional force to the normal reaction, and as we know, Fk is always less than F max. F max is possible in static condition, maximum value of friction at impending motion, and because if Fk is always less than F max, mu k is also always less than mu s. Now let us see the laws of friction. So friction is always tangential to the contact surface, and it always acts in a direction opposite to that in which the body tends to move. And the magnitude of the friction is self-adjusting to the applied force until its limiting value or maximum value is reached. And at its limiting frictional force, once that is reached, the body will have impending motion. And this F max is directly proportional to the normal reaction, and the proportionality constant is mu s, which is the coefficient of static friction. And then Fk is less than F max, therefore mu s is greater than mu k, or mu k is less than mu s. And Fk is also less than F max because now the body is already having the tendency to move, and it has already crossed over the obstacles of the static friction. The other law is that the friction depends on the surface roughness and the material in contact. and the frictional force is independent of the area of contact between the two surfaces, and kinetic friction is independent of the sliding speed. This is called as Coulomb's law. And not just that, frictional force being proportional to normal reaction is the first Monton's law, and F being independent of area of contact between the two surfaces is the second Monton's law of friction.
Thanks for watching. If this video was of help to you, please like it and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.